Welcome to the Sports Social Club, hosted by Alex and Jess. I'm Alex.
I'm Jess.
And if you are watching this video, then you do see that there is a third person in the screen. Welcome, Cody, to the Sports Social Club. You are our first guest. Congratulations.
Yay!
For those who do not know, Cody is my husband, so pretty easy to get him to come on. You know, easy access going on here, close proximity. So first we'll just talk about a few things that have been going on in the last week or so, just some quick highlights, and then we're going to get an in-depth talk about the world of rugby today with Cody.
Yes. Heck yeah.
Jess, what would you like to start with?
I guess we could start with the basketball winners.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an exciting time.
Well, I would say one game was more exciting than the other.
Yes.
Yeah. The women's game, so. You know, we were both pulling for South Carolina, and UConn was like, actually, we're not going to make this a close game at all, and we're just going to run away with it and absolutely dominate.
I was definitely pulling for UConn.
Were you really?
I had them beating SC in my bracket, and so I was pulling for UConn.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, you luckily won very, very handily.
I don't remember what the final score was, but I think they won by like at least 20.
I think they won. Yeah, I think
like
looking
30.
at their bracket, like UConn won most of their games by like at least 30 points. I think they only had one game that was even remotely close.
Yeah, but if Oklahoma State had beaten South Dakota State, then we could have beaten UConn.
Just keep telling ourselves that.
Well, did you see that there was only one bracket? There was a bracket that only missed one game, and it was
the OSU game.
Yeah.
That was the only one they got wrong.
They were like 62 of 63 or however many games there are, and that was the only one they got wrong.
Yeah, they said OSU was going to win, and they let them down.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then the men's game was actually pretty exciting between Florida and Houston. It was close all the way until the very end. I remember I was watching it, and then I texted you right when it ended. I said that was a devastating ending. Just because...
Yes, it was so sad.
Just because of how it played out. Basically, if you weren't watching, there was like 8 seconds left on the game. Houston's down by 2, and Houston has the ball, goes to throw it in, gets it in, and then they're trying to pass it around for just a second, trying to get the 3 for the win. Guy goes up to shoot the 3, but someone blocks him, so he's coming down with the ball. But if he lands, like with his feet on the ground with ball in hand, it's a travel because he's already jumped. So he has to let go of the ball, and then he's just trying to box out his defender, hoping that one of his teammates can come in and grab the ball. But then a Florida player like dives in, knocks the ball away, and then Florida grabs it, and then game over.
It was so sad.
Yeah.
It was so sad. Yeah, and Florida played amazing defense, like lockdown defense, especially in the second half. But yeah, no, Houston, they gave that game away completely.
I mean, Houston's defense in the first half was like unstoppable, and then they just forgot how to play defense in the second half.
Yes, they gave up a lead. It was so bad. Well, sad times.
College basketball is now over. Congrats to them.
Yep.
And then another sport that is now over, college hockey. Last night was the championship of the Frozen Four. It was Boston University and Western Michigan. Boston, if they were going to win, that would be their 6th NCAA championship. But their last one was in 2006. So it's been a really long time since they've won. But it would have been their 6th overall, and it would be Western Michigan's first win. And Western Michigan absolutely dominated. I think the final score was 6-2.
It was, yeah.
6-2. Absolutely dominated that game. First national championship for them. Super exciting. They play in the same conference as Omaha, so that was pretty cool for them. You know, a team that's not. You know, it's always nice to see a team get their first national championship. I mean, unlike UConn, where they've now won 12 national championships in women's basketball, most ever. I think it's always nice, a little change of pace to see a team win their first. So.
Heck yeah. And I got kind of nervous when it was 3-2 Western Michigan. I was like, oh, Boston's going to come back and win this. Yeah. But no, it was a solid ending.
And then right now there's currently an F1 race going on in Bahrain. Over there. Not in America. Have you been watching it this morning?
Yes, yes, it's been exciting. It's been exciting. Norris is just flying. Or not Norris, sorry, Piastri. Piastri's just flying. I think he's way better than Norris, but
Yeah,
no, it's been
it's
exciting.
definitely leaning more towards an Oscar winning over Orlando, which I don't think anyone would have predicted at the beginning of the season, but he's looked so good the last couple of races.
Yes.
Are they on the same team?
They are.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
they're on McLaren together.
And Max Verstappen has not looked as good, especially today in the race. His team has
Yeah.
struggled. I don't know if it's actually been him doing bad. I think it's been a lot of other issues that they've had as just his team.
Yeah. Their car's terrible. The Red Bull car is so bad.
How I just don't understand how like they can have a bad car, you know? Like I obviously you guys know more about F1 than I do, but you would think, you know, you're at like the top level of Formula 1 racing. Red Bull, you would assume, has a lot of money. Like how can you make a car that's not good, you know?
Well, I think because they have someone like Verstappen who can drive it like no matter what, whether it's good or bad, like he can pull it out. But the thing is, you're not going to ever win the constructors again because no other driver can drive that car. But then next year, everything changes all over again. So I bet they're just waiting, saving, and going to come out with a way better car.
And they had one of the best like aerodynamicists on their team with Adrian Newey. And they just lost him for this season to, I think, where did he went to Williams? I can't remember where he went.
Was it Williams?
Or Alpine.
Why would he leave?
I feel it was Alpine.
Someone else
It
paid
might
him
have
more
been
money?
Alpine, that one.
I think so.
Yes. Yeah, which is huge.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the biggest names when it comes to like car design in the sport. And so Red Bull lost him, and so you lose a guy that can build a car that into a rocket ship. That changes up the game, definitely.
Yep. Exactly.
And then our last kind of major topic we have right now, the Masters are going on for those who keep up with golf.
Yes.
We are on the final day of the Masters. Should have a winner later this afternoon. Personally, I don't keep up with golf. Cody will say, you know, I only ask him about the people who played at OSU. I say, how's Victor doing? How's Ricky doing? And he's like, didn't make it. I'm like, okay, well,
didn't make it at all.
I'm like, well, that's all the people I care about. So,
yeah, it's been exciting though. I mean, I love the Masters. I think it's like one of the only tournaments I'll watch besides like the PGA Open. But like Rory's he's in the lead right now, but he'll choke, and you know, life will go on.
How many strokes ahead is he right now?
2.
Oh, okay.
I think he's 12 under, Bryson's 10 under, and then I think Connor's is 9? 8 under.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thrilling stuff.
Yeah. So anyone's game.
Wow. Exciting.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to mention before we get into our rugby part of this conversation?
Well, since we have Cody here, I guess we're going to be enemies for the next few weeks because the Stars and the Avs play each other again.
Yes, I saw last night. It was the first official, like, locked-in matchup of the NHL playoffs. What are they starting on next Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Are we starting in Colorado or in Dallas?
It'll be in Dallas because you guys are the 2
I think it's
seed.
Dallas.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no faith in us. We're on a very bad losing streak.
I'm hoping that something is going on right now where they're just like, let's get all of the bad things out of the way and then lock in. I know, like, when they had that really big loss the other day when 3 goals were scored in the last minute of the game, that was Casey DeSmith in goal. Last night when they lost, it was Casey DeSmith. I don't know. Like, they got shut out by the Jets the other day. I don't know if Ottinger or DeSmith was in goal. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't actually watching that game. But I'm hoping that this is just like a DeSmith isn't locked in and we're just, like, giving Otter time to rest because he's obviously going to be the starting goalie when we get into playoffs.
Yeah.
And like Cody was saying, you know, the Avs, when they clinched their spot however many games ago, they're like, okay, we're resting all of our big players. And the Stars are not. Like, what are all the top guys are still playing, and I'm like, for what? You're just making each other tired. You've already got your spot, and now
you're losing confidence.
Now it's becoming embarrassing because they were on such a hot streak, such like a high contender of like they're gonna win the cup, and they've lost 4 of the last 5, and most of them have been not like oh man that was so close. It was like what was that?
Getting blown out.
Well, yeah, and so like you're saying, the Avalanche like rested. I think they're most of their first and second line guys. So like McCarr, McKinnon, a bunch of guys are being rested up. They're have nagging injuries, so they're like, hey, if we don't have to play you for a week and a half, we will, and you guys can get healthy. That is going to be huge going into Dallas, and then and then of course you have the Landeskog started coming back, so that's just a huge pump of adrenaline into the team, and that's going to be absolutely incredible. Just the boys are buzzing. So
yeah. How did he look at the AHL game?
He looked so. I mean, so he looks a little rusty, but
he hasn't played a game in 3 years.
Yeah. But he looks. I mean, he looks so good. He got a goal last night. He plays a very similar style to Joe Pavelski, where he's just that nuisance in front of the net and gets a lot of just deflections, and he'll score some goals from like the arc and stuff, but like that's where he lives, is right there in front of the net, and that's how he got his goal last night, was a deflection. And I mean, the arena went insane when he scored. It was,
of course,
this is not looking good for the Stars.
It's looking
no,
really
I bet
good
it was the highest selling AHL game ever.
No, I mean, Cody said that first game that he was back 2 days ago, tickets were like $600, sold out at a minor league game.
Yeah,
that's insane. Yeah. Do they play at the same arena?
No, they play at
Of course, they don't play at the same
tiny
arena.
Okay, I was about to say they don't play that. Like this is like a tiny.
They play up in Loveland in Colorado, which is a little bit north of Denver, and it's just a small arena. And it was like they actually had, like, normally you have to have like a special account like through Flow Hockey to watch it, and Flow Hockey was like, hey, we know this is an important game, so we're gonna let everyone watch it for free on YouTube or social media.
Wow.
So and
huge.
It was like anytime he got on the ice, people were cheering. Anytime he'd even touch the puck, it was like, let's go.
If he was on a different team and we weren't starting the playoffs in a week, I would probably be a lot more excited for him. But I'm like, this is trending in a direction that's looking really bad for the Stars.
Very bad.
There's been a lot of people that have been being like, hey, he might make his like NHL appearance on Easter Sunday. So instead of, rising after 3 days, rising after 3 years, and there's a so it's he like, oh, captain, my captain.
And just even worse for the Stars, Miro Heiskanen is now not projected to be coming back first round of playoffs, which is not ideal. I think they said Tyler Seguin is, but I'm like, that's great, but I'm not missing Tyler Seguin. I'm missing Miro Heiskanen, one of the best defenders in the league, and he's still not ready to come back, which, especially the way that the Stars have been losing recently, getting outscored, defense is key, and apparently we're missing it now.
Yeah, because him and Makar were like the two front runners for the Norris for a while.
Yes. Yep.
Not good.
Freaking, Mark Stone, hate him.
Yeah, I also not a fan of Mark Stone.
Nobody is.
No, he always destroys our players.
All right. Well, I think that's kind of all we got in terms of sports updates, highlights, things like that. So now we're going to do a little interview type session with Cody, kind of get his inside look as to his experience growing up playing rugby, his involvement with it, and then he's going to let us know kind of the big things that are going on in rugby, both right now, next year, within the year, and just kind of how rugby's maybe changed, grown over the last few years and stuff like that. So, Cody, to start us off, kind of give us your little background on rugby. How did you get involved? When did you start playing? And kind of what has that timeline looked for you?
So I started playing actually like my freshman year of high school. So going into so I was playing football in the fall, and then coming into the spring, my parents were like, hey, we want you to do something else. You can't have you just hanging around during the spring, find something else to do. So originally I was thinking I was going to do track, but then my brother actually found rugby and was like, hey, this looks fun. And I was like, I'll go out. And I just like the first practice, he went and joined, and I actually just kind of went and sat and watched and was like, let's see if this is something I want to do. And after that first practice, I was like, this actually looks like a lot of fun. Kind of started doing some research and was like, okay, I think I might want to do this. And then ever since then, I've kind of been addicted. Fell in love immediately, and it's been, played all throughout high school, played all 5 years I was in college, and then played a little bit once I graduated college, and then now I've gotten into full-time riffing.
There you go. So, so freshman year of high school, you're what, like 14, 15, something like that, and then now you're what, 31? So half of your life,
Old.
Yeah.
half of your life has been dedicated to rugby in some sense. So definitely,
Yeah.
probably the sport that you've been interested in. I mean, or I guess I should say actively involved in the longest. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like every little kid, I played all the sports growing up. I played baseball, I played football, I played did a bunch of everything, and yeah, the once I kind of hit that, I was like, this is what I want to do. And yeah, you're right. Like last, what was that, 16, 17 years now,
Yeah.
that I've been involved with it. Yeah, that would be definitely the longest sport that I've been involved in.
Yeah. And you've definitely, I mean, you're kind of doing like all aspects of it. You know, you were a player, and then you got more into the reffing side of things, and now you're doing like some volunteer coaching with a high school team nearby. So kind of like all levels, been involved, especially now with reffing. You know, you ref high school kids, college kids, men's league. You help out with the pro league with the Seattle Seawolves. So really all levels that you're just kind of getting involved with.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's so much like rugby. Rugby's growing so much recently that there's so much different levels to get involved in, and like even there's even like some youth leagues like below high school, like U12s, U15 stuff that's going on. That so like it is like up here in Washington, it's growing quite a bit, but it's definitely a very fast growing sport, and there's a lot of good things to look forward to with rugby. So it's very easy to get involved right now, just with so much going on.
And would you recommend it, since you've played football and rugby and everything? Would you recommend it more for younger kids, especially because I know people are always terrified of putting their kids in football at such a young age? But since y'all learn to protect your head so much,
Yeah, and like so, if you like most people when they hear rugby, they're like, "Oh, that's such a scary sport, such a contact sport." And like back in like the '80s, it was definitely that kind of super intense, like anything goes kind of thing. And then as the years have gone on, done rules to make it safer, make it more enjoyable to watch and play. And so but yeah, that's the big thing, is that when it comes to like tackling, because we don't have pads, when you go to hit somebody, you're more cognizant of how do I hit this person so that I get hurt less, and they get like tackled to the ground. And so yeah, we're football players, like they're just spear tackling everyone. They're throwing their just full on missile tackling at people's knees, and just doing anything they can to take the guy to the ground. Versus in rugby, you have to use your arms to make the tackle. You can't just throw your body at them. You have to think about how you make this tackle. So a lot of it is, honestly, it is safer. Like, yeah, you think, oh, I don't have pads, but we focus so much on safety. And as a referee, so much of what we're taught to do is how do we protect the players as much as we can with what we do, and and so it honestly is way safer when it comes to that than most people would think. And I think it is safer than football is. I know there's actually been a lot of football teams like the Seahawks were one of the first teams that kind of bring in rugby players to teach how they tackle, because they understood that it was a safer tackle, but also it can be a more effective tackle because you're taught to actually like grab onto the person and bring them to the ground, instead of just being like, hey, I'll throw my body at them. Oh, they stiff arm me off. Well, that didn't work. So they're like, rugby is definitely starting to get more involved into football even, so with their tackling.
Yeah, and you'll see, I mean, just with rugby and football kind of crossover, I feel like we see this more when it comes to like kicking and stuff, but you'll see like a lot of kickers come into the league and they're like, oh, they're doing the rugby style kick where they're, whether they came from like Australia or New Zealand or something like that, and they do that like kind of like curved running kick when they're punting the ball as opposed to just like the straight. And then I know there's been several, I feel like, rugby players who have then come in and played in the league and been fairly successful. Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the big names is the tackle for the Eagles, Jordan Mailata. He was a rugby player down in New Zealand, and then came up here and has been incredibly successful. Obviously, winning a Super Bowl this last year, and There's been some other ones that have tried, and like you said, a lot of them have had more success with kicking, but like one of the big names out of the UK, Reece Williams-Zammit, he tried out for the team. He unfortunately did not make the 53-man roster for the Chiefs, but there are some big international names that are trying to get involved with the NFL because one, there's a lot of money to make, and they think they can be successful, and some of them actually have been very successful.
Wow, there you go.
Heck yeah.
So what is going on right now in the world of rugby? I know it's not always easy. I feel like for Americans to always keep up with what's going on with rugby, maybe because it's not as televised here. It's not talked about as much. So kind of let us know what's going on, maybe both here in America in terms of rugby and then internationally.
So yeah, so like right now, like this kind of late fall or late winter, early spring time is like really when rugby's at its like peak, kind of across the world. Actually, pretty much most of the northern hemisphere is where it's really at its peak. So there's leagues going on across the world right now. Starting, I guess, at the top, we've got international rugby with the women's Six Nations. So that's 6 teams out of Europe that are all competing against each other. So you've got England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, France, Italy, all playing. So they have the men's Six Nations that just finished like a month or so ago, but the women's Six Nations is currently going on. I was watching this morning with the Scotland-Italy game. And it's actually been really exciting to watch. They've had some really good games. England are currently dominating, which isn't really a surprise to most people with how good they are. They're the number 1 team in the world right now. And then I think yesterday they crushed whoever they played. I think it was like 60 or 70 points. They absolutely dominated.
Sorry, is Six Nations 7s or 15s?
So Six Nations is 15s. So 15s versus 7s. Normal rugby, think of it as like football, where you have 11 people in the field. Normal 15s rugby, union rugby is 15 players. And then 7s, similar to like a 7-on-7 or a flag football kind of thing, where it's still full contact, but it's 7 players instead of the 15. It's
on that same field size.
Same field size, just a shorter time you're playing. So instead, like 15s, you're playing for a full 80 minutes, and then 7s, you're playing for just 2 7-minute halves. So you end up being about 20 minutes. So it ends up being it's a lot quicker game. They're trying to make it kind of like a 3-on-3 basketball, where it's a lot more exciting. You get a lot more action, a lot quicker things happening, and it's feels a little bit less of like a drag just having to watch for a full 80. But it's so 7s is definitely starting to get crazy. That there's the so that's another international thing that's going on right now is there's the World 7 series that's going on where teams are traveling around the world. They play about once a month. So we just had last week I think it was the Hong Kong 7s tournament, and so that's like Argentina won the men's side, and then I think it was Australia won the women's side. Unfortunately, the U.S. men's 7s team has been really bad this year. They've been I don't think they've won more than maybe 2 matches in the 6 or 7 tournaments, 5 or 6 tournaments they've had so far. They're currently sitting, I think, either 11th or 12th out of 12 teams in the series. So they're coming into LA. Actually, there's going to be a tournament here in LA in a couple weeks, and that'll be a huge tournament for the U.S. because there's the play-in tournament basically. So there's the main travel teams, which are the top 12 teams, and then there's like the competitors league. I can't remember what it's called, but basically it's almost like the second tier of 7s rugby. And so the bottom 4 teams from the main 12 will compete against the top 4 teams from like the competitors league, and it's kind of like a demotion promotion kind of situation. So the top 4 teams from that will stay or like go compete. And right now the US men's team is looking like they might not even qualify to be one of the main competitors for next year. So it's they've really got to figure it out coming into this new. They're coming into LA here in a couple weeks. The women's team, on the other hand, has looked much better. They've actually been competing. They've been finishing like top 4 quite a few times. They have not yet to win one of the tournaments, but the women's sevens team has been looking much better. They don't have a lot of their stars that they had at the Olympics last year because either injuries or a lot of them or some of them are looking to move on to the 15s team, which is there's the Women's Rugby World Cup is actually coming up in August. It's going to be a huge event, and the U.S. is actually looking really good right now. The U.S. is 8th overall in the world, so they should have a good shot of having some sort of competition. And of course, you have one of the biggest names in rugby in general, Alona Mar.
Alona Mar.
Yeah.
She made the initial squad,
Ooh,
the selection
nice.
squad. So she's trying to earn her spot on the starting 23 to go into the World Cup, and so that's going to be huge to see if we can get some of the stars of women's rugby competing. So that'll be coming up in August, and everyone's really looking forward to it. But like I said, that in the Six Nations, that England side is just so good.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be a tough team to beat, but I think. Just with that spark of confidence coming from some of the 7 stars with Alona Mar and like Alev Kelter, they're going to look, I think, really good.
So speaking of Six Nations, is that the one that there is a Netflix show on?
Yeah, so the Netflix has for the men's side at least, they have it's called Full Contact. They've got kind of if you've ever seen Drive to Survive on Netflix, it's the rugby version of it. Really good series. I would recommend it. It really kind of shows you the ins and outs of Six Nations rugby. And yeah, so I really enjoy watching that kind of as like a refresher of what happened last season before I come in, similar to when I watched Drive to Survive.
And then, you mentioned Alona Mar, big name in women's rugby, but just honestly rugby in general. How much would you say rugby has kind of gotten maybe a bigger spotlight or talked about more ever since Alona has really kind of like made it more popular, I guess, or like brought it to more attention? She started documenting her Olympic experience through TikTok. I think the first one was when it was like the Olympics over like during COVID. And then kind of give us an inside look there, which a lot of other athletes did, but I think Alona did it really well. And then she did it again this next Olympics, and it just like has really taken off. Then she went on Dancing with the Stars, and she's been doing all this other stuff, just like bringing an even bigger name to herself, which in turn I think helps bring more attention to rugby. So would you agree that Alona and just like what she has done in terms of like social media and just like putting herself out there, has that you feel like really grown the game of rugby, or at least, the attention to it,
especially here in the U.S. because like before like the most like followed, the best player in the world was Antoine Dupont, which for you guys, I say that name and you're like,
Nothing.
I don't know who that is.
It's a pretty name.
Is he French?
He is French. He's he unfortunately he just had a serious knee injury in the men's Six Nations, but he was the the reigning voted best player in World Rugby, and so but he was the biggest name in rugby in social media until Alona Mar came in, and so you have somebody like that in the U.S. that's bringing such a big name into the sport. People are following, especially being a woman in a kind of, I want to say it, not necessarily a male dominant sport, but it, yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
And so you have that kind of huge influence into it. And just at the local level that I deal with, there's been just such an influx of women trying to join the sport, trying to get involved with it, because just seeing her play and seeing not only her, but the success that the U.S. women's sevens team had at the Olympics last year with finishing 3rd in the most incredible game I've ever seen, with that score there at the end.
I was going to say something still about Alona Mar. Man, I'm blanking on it. Oh, Luna wanted to join the conversation.
Yeah, she said, hey. So does she have a full-time job, like outside of rugby, or is rugby her full-time job?
She is actually a nurse. So she is a nurse. Obviously she has not been doing nursing for a while because she's been so like into her professional career of rugby. But like if she needed to, like something happened, she got injured, she's like, I can never play rugby again. Technically she could go be a nurse. But I think that social media and just like trying to be a pro rugby player is kind of like her whole job now.
Yeah, I think
Sweet.
it's rugby, and then it's but I think most of her money comes from her content creation, be it
Yeah.
just being an influencer basically. Because she signed a big contract with Adidas recently. I know was on the SI like swimsuit edition, and she's done but just done. I think she maybe has some like makeup
Yeah, I'm sure she
sponsorships as
does.
well. Because that's the biggest thing that she's been pushing is, hey, like I can be the beauty and the beast. Like I'll wear my bright red lipstick, but I'll also hit the shit out of people.
Yeah, because
and-
what her tagline is like beauty, beast, brains, or something in that order, where she's like, I can be smart, I can be pretty, and I can be a freaking beast out on the rugby pitch. So
Yeah.
super cool.
Heck yeah.
Oh,
I love it.
This is what I was gonna say about Alona Mar. Right now, or maybe now, maybe soon, I don't remember. There's a women's rugby like pro league that's starting in the U.S. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're about 3 or 4 games. I think we're about 3 games in. Most teams have played about 3 games now into so it's the women's elite rugby, which is the WER. So it's kind of a name change from the league that was going on, but the biggest thing is they actually are able to like provide a salary to most of the players. So most of the players are now actually receiving a contract, which is huge for women's rugby. And so they're currently that's going on right now. The Denver Onyx are absolutely just destroying people. I think they won yesterday to kind of take the first seed in the league right now, and I think they won their game like 70-15 or something. It was like they're a very good team.
And is that 15s or 7s?
That's 15. So
15s.
yeah.
Okay. And for those who are unfamiliar with rugby scoring, it's essentially very similar to football, where you're, instead of it 6 for a touchdown and 1 for an extra point, it's 5 and then 2. So hearing like a 70-15 is like a 70-15 football score, kind of, but still absolute domination,
which is insane.
Yeah, because like in the U.S., there's 2 pro leagues currently going on. You've got the WER, which is the women's league, and then you've got the MLR, which is the men's league. And I think we're about halfway through the season right now. The local team here in Seattle, the Seawolves, who have won two championships and were actually in the championship last year and finished second. They're not looking very good this year, unfortunately. They've only won 1 game right now, and kind of have struggled. One of the biggest issues that they've had is that one of their like best coaches actually took on the head coaching job of the Chicago Hounds. So I think that's been kind of one of the things that people have noticed is when you lose that kind of big coaching position, that something's felt off, and that's been one of the biggest changes there. But yeah, the New England Free Jacks, who won the MLR last year, are still looking really good this year. Utah, San Diego are some of the top teams here in the West Side.
Is there a team in Dallas?
So there was a team in Dallas, the Dallas Jackals. They just folded this coming into this season.
Sorry, Jess.
That was actually the Dallas team when we were living in Dallas was they were kind of a new team, kind of trying to develop themselves, and then I think they just struggled a little bit financially to kind of keep their players paid. So unfortunately, they had to fold coming into the season.
Where would they play here?
So they were actually playing over in Frisco at the
FC Dallas place.
I think they were playing at FC Dallas. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome! Wow.
So yeah, that was.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
I think maybe they played 1 or 2 games over at the Rough Rider Stadium.
Okay. Yeah.
And baseball.
Wow.
I mean, football will turn baseball stadiums all the time.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, always.
I feel like that'd be
it always
so
looks
much
so
work
weird
for them to just be like, yeah, let's just do it for this random rugby
I
team
think,
one time.
Yeah, I think if like I think if FC Dallas or something has something going on, they maybe not weren't able to share the field or something. So,
Gotcha.
but I think most of the time they were playing at FC Dallas. But yeah, they unfortunately there was a team in Dallas.
They're
but
gone.
not anymore. And that's been kind of the issue with the MLR is they've had quite a few teams recently just kind of jump in, jump out, either with ownership issues or financial issues. Rugby is growing, but unfortunately, it's still not a big enough sport to really draw in a huge contract. So some teams are just struggling to keep that financial aspect going. So it's like as much as it's growing, it's still not quite there. So you'll see that happen where you'll have teams like this one team in LA will be here, and then all of a sudden the next season they won't be, and then there will be a new team in LA the following season or something like that. So where it's one of those sports where. Yeah, it'll grow, but it'll definitely you'll see it where like you guys don't even for the average person they won't even know that it's going on. Nope. So that's where it kind of hurts a little bit.
Great. Well, Jess, do you have any other questions that come to mind in terms of rugby?
Do they all have the coolest names? Like, because you had the Seawolves, the Hounds, the Jackals, the Free Jacks. Like,
I feel like there's a couple names that are
cool
lame.
There's some teams that have some better names. Like the WER, I think had some pretty good names, but then you also had some that were like, because like the Denver Onyx was kind of they're like a pink and black team. I think that's one of the cooler ones. But cool. Like the like in MLR, you've got just LARC, which lame. LA Rugby Club. So like.
That's lame.
Yeah, like the Utah Hockey Club. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's like it's so lame. Dang.
Yeah. So I think
But then there's a team. They're the Sharks, and they're pink.
So there's the Miami Sharks. So they've got that kind of the cool. Miami Vice look going on, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Like you've got the LA Legion, the Utah Warriors, and the. There was actually a team in Toronto, the Toronto Arrows, but they ended up folding.
It's probably because their name was lame.
Yeah. I love the Seawolves. Yeah. I think that's so cool.
What is a Seawolf?
That's an orca.
I was going to say, because I know their mascot, is like a killer whale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a seawolf, like an orca or like a killer whale or something like that. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was a wolf head with like a shark body.
That'd be cool. Maybe they're open to rebranding.
I was thinking Seawolf though. Yeah, if they want that, I'm gonna copyright it. So that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, Jess, do we have anything else to talk about? No, I don't think so.
I think
Cody, you got anything else you'd like to share, mention? No. Oh, did the race just finish?
The race did just finish.
Who won? Piastri.
Yep, Oscar Piastri, and then we had George Russell, and then Lando Norris. So.
There you go. How far down did Verstappen go?
They just pulled the tiny team screen off, so I missed it. But yeah.
Oh, Verstappen got 6th. Wow.
I think
Sonoda got 9th.
I think trying to keep an eye on it, and I think after that safety car at the start of the pod, they everything kind of just stayed how it was. There wasn't a lot of shuffling around that happened after that safety car.
Did Sainz DNF?
I missed it, so I.
Okay, it looks like he got 20, but he got last place. But he it says by like 12 laps.
Yeah, so then that would have been a DNF. Yeah, no.
Something happened to him.
Dang. Dang.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our episode today. Thank you to Cody for joining us and talking to us all about rugby. Be sure to tune into our future episodes where we will get other people on, talk about the sports that they're super involved with.
Heck yeah.
And then maybe we'll just bring some people on, some friends who are like, yeah, I'm down to talk about sports. Why not, So until next time, this was the Sports Social Club with Alex and Jess and Cody. I'm Alex.
Mm-hmm. I'm Jess.
And I'm Cody.
There we go. Anything you'd like us to talk about, feel free to leave a comment on YouTube or on Spotify. And so until next time, see you later.
Bye.
See ya.